Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Stasis bringing you some Starcraft 2 action here in the Atlantic Canadian Starcraft Society Online League Season 1. And this time, wow, that music is really loud. We're going to turn that down right quick. Unreal. 70%? No. Let's try 25%. Alright. In the right corner, wearing the green shorts, is the Zerg, TheTiny. And in the left corner in the pink, it is Onepac. Tupac is dead, but Onepac lives on. Playing the pink Zerg today. Onepac gonna go ahead and get a pretty early gas. I don't know if he intended to cancel that. No, it looks intentional. It's gonna be gas before pool. The way this timing works out pretty much is that as soon as the pool is finished, you've got the gas for speed. So I would anticipate some very aggressive play here right off the bat from Onepac. TheTiny opting for hatchery first, followed by gas, and then we'll see pool. It is a little more economic of a play, but with that gas before pool, there will at least be some early speed. Shouldn't get picked apart too much by Onepac's pressure. However, if Onepac really commits to this attack, he could punish the hatch first. So we will just have to wait and see. There's that pool finishing up now for Onepac. And he does start the speed right away, opting for now to keep drones in the gas. This could translate into a quick lair. He has dropped his hatchery now, so the timing is great on that. And he does pull down to 2 drones, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a reasonably early lair. Probably get his queens first and all that good stuff. And some lings on the way now. We're going to see TheTiny's spawning pool finish up here in a second, see if he grabs speed himself. He does have the gas for it now. Not quite yet. Opting instead to spend those early minerals on his 2 queens. He will need those units for defense momentarily. First lings out for Onepac. He's going to sit at the front for now. Looks like a drone scout here. Going to confirm the expansion. He's going to see the lings anyway. Will he be able to spot the hatch? No, he's not going to be brave enough to get in. Yeah, well, he sees the creep spread. He sees the creep spread actually goes through the spine crawler there. But he does know that there's a hatchery. That's most of the information he needs. Oh, he had that overlord there as well, so I guess he saw what was going on. And hopefully this overlord manages to get away. That would be a disastrous loss for Onepac to lose an overlord like this. Oh no, and it is going to go down. So nice pick off for TheTiny there, getting that early overlord. And it does not supply block Onepac though. In the unit counting station, we've got 27 drones for TheTiny and only 17 for Onepac. And that's got to be because of this heavy ling production. So Onepac, now that he's behind economically, as TheTiny drops even a 3rd hatchery now. But he's got to make something happen here. He is on the clock. Lots of lings here. Some reinforcing to the 2nd. I'm going to poke in and see, get a good count on the units. Sees a couple queens. He knows there's 3 queens here altogether, and he might pull in with the rest of these lings momentarily. These 4 lings are going to try to get 1 drone pick off. We will not be successful. Speed done for both sides. Onepac going in with the lings, going to try to snipe off that 3rd hatchery for TheTiny. Will he get it? No, he's going to pull away. Doesn't want to lose his lings just yet. And actually now he's got the superior ling count. Going to go back in, and TheTiny's going to fight this, but I just don't know if this is the best engagement for him. And he does pull back, but not before losing a significant number of units. Onepac is essentially assured this pick off now, and the hatchery does drop. He does get the cancel off. Doesn't lose too many units. And Onepac, not wasting any time, immediately drops down 4 lings. He's going to go in and see what's going on. There's some defensive banelings here too, morphing in. And more lings on the way for Onepac. This is just pure aggression. Pure aggression. And he's got to make something happen here. He is still behind in drones. Banelings going in, try to get some damage in the mineral line. They will not. Oh, but some huge hits on the Zerglings. Unbelievable hits. And Onepac right there, I think, takes a commanding advantage in this fight. Let's see if he can pull it off. He is out of Banelings. He's got to watch out for the 4 here that TheTiny still has up. You have to be so careful in this matchup. A few more banelings on the way, but so far the trades are good for Onepac. Has to be so careful. Hopefully he can get these lings defended. And the banelings are up. Oh, this game could still go either way. The Tiny warping in some more banelings. Such a good defensive unit. Onepac going in. Couple baneling hits. Not the best this time. Oh, but those were some huge hits on those Zerglings, and the Tiny's gotta be wincing at that. Oh, but his banelings come in and get some amazing hits on Onepac's lings too. The banelings are doing all the work in this game right now. Onepac seems to be pulling ahead with the unit advantage, and the Tiny's just not spending his money. Big mineral surplus here. Finally, the Tiny might have the links to clean this up, but not before losing some drones. We're down to 20 drones to 18 now in favor of the Tiny. And there's no sign of the aggression stopping from Onepac as more Zerglings stream across the map. And with these overlords in the center, the Tiny's able to see that he cannot afford to drone up yet. He has to continue making these banelings, has to continue to try to posture defense, and maybe get some more big hits in. Two banelings going to try to sneak in. And they do get a reasonably good trade there on the Tiny's banelings. These lings have to be careful. Trying to snipe off this queen, and a huge baneling hit for the Tiny. And that's really going to stymie this attack. And the Tiny now droning up just a little bit. And really puts Onepac back in a position where he has to be aggressive. He knows he's behind in drones. He can see the saturation on this secondary base. Onepac pulling in another 20 lings. There's no sign of this aggression stopping. And the Tiny feels comfortable enough to try for a third again. I think if this gets spotted, it'll have to be cancelled, but he's counting on Onepac focusing on the frontal attack. I'm not necessarily seeing the third, so we'll have to see how that pans out. It looks like he's going to spot it, so good job by Onepac there. Making sure to get that scout in the third and denying that extra economic advantage. In the unit counting station, it's 27 lings for the Tiny and only 20 for Onepac. And he's got lots of banelings on the way, so it looks like he should be able to hold this. And honestly, if he can hold this, especially now with a few roaches on the way, he should get the win. Onepac going for a third of his own, bit of a hidden position there, hedging his bets a little bit. He may have the impression now that he can't break through this, but he's not yet getting drones. He is morphing that lair. Maybe try to get some sort of tech advantage. ZVZ is a game trying to get all the edges you can, and a big ling trade in the middle. It's hard to tell who's going in favor of, but in the end, Onepac cleans it up. But a big food advantage here for the Tiny. Could be another little trade here. The Tiny realizing that's not quite in his favor, pulls back to the banelings and roaches. And Onepac is going to be forced to defend here. Gets a nice trade. Those banelings were not on hold position. Oh, and another unfortunate explosion there for the Tiny. And another one. So Onepac really getting a few efficient trades in with these banelings, but there's just so many. I mean, you can take some good trades if you want, but the resource gathering advantage is really going to work against him here, and Onepac trying to get some banelings morphed in this position, and it's just not going to happen. He's going to have to cancel all of these. Now, the Tiny swinging in, trying to take his advantage. Not a very good baneling trade, but Onepac just has nothing left. So, really amazing quick game there between these two players. Some really good trades on both sides, and just some exciting ZVZ action. So we're actually going to jump right into the second game. I'm going to pull up the replay here. Alright, here we go. The Tiny spawning in the top left as the teal Zerg, and in the bottom right, pink Zerg is Onepac. So the Tiny taking game one in impressive fashion. Really just solid defense. Took an early economic advantage and managed to hold it. Managed to get some decent trades. Let's see if we can repeat the same here. On Parasite, there is another very very defensible natural base here. you can throw the hatch down, and just the creep from the hatch is good enough to get a few defensive buildings in here. And then the one creep tumor allows you to finish off the wall off. So it could be risky to do another one and a half base aggression. Have to see what these players end up doing. Tiny's not going to mess with it yet. Going to go for that hatch first play on 17. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is a best of 3 series, by the way. And Onepac looks like he's going to stick to his guns as well. Gas into pool. And he'll have enough gas in that get started to grab his speed. So it could be more of the same from Onepac. And you know what? When it comes to tournaments, when it comes to league play, you can't just go around making adjustments that are too big. You know, if you've practiced a certain way and you've got your timings down a certain way, you've got to stick with it, even if the build doesn't work out in one game. Because trying to fashion or improvise things mid-series often does not work that well. So it does show a little bit of experience in the tournament scene to stick to your guns after losing with a build and you know, trying again and sticking with it. So both of these players sticking with their build, not worried about being too predictable or anything like that. The Tiny here will have the gas shortly to start his own speed. Unit counting station, we see that drone counts are essentially even. Onepac going for the pair of lings instead of one drone. I like this better than not building any lings at all. You need a little bit of map control just to see what your opponent is doing. Finally, the 2 lings pop out for the Tiny. Managed to snipe that drone off. Onepac finally dropping his hatchery. Now this hatchery is so much more delayed than his opponent's. But he's got the queen a little sooner. No, not a whole lot sooner. I would say that the Tiny has the advantage here just by virtue of getting that hatch out early and then otherwise kind of being in the same spot. The edge that Onepac has right now is getting that speed so much sooner. His is done, and we're still 30 seconds away for the Tiny. So Onepac might be able to get a little bit of damage on here. Maybe pick off a couple drones. Excuse me. And it looks like Onepac lost an Overlord because he is severely supply blocked there. And that could hamper this attack, but if he could get a queen pickoff, that would be amazing. The drones are going to have to come in here for the Tiny to save that queen, and they are going to be able to repel it. Does lose 1 drone in the process, not the biggest loss. Keeping that queen alive was critical. And he's got some lings of his own on the way. Should be able to defend this, and he feels comfortable getting that 3rd hatchery as well. Some lings on the other side of the map doing some damage to this hatchery. This queen, unfortunately, attacking those plates instead of the lings. This should get cleaned up, no problem. Meanwhile, at the Tiny's base, Onepac's going to move back in, but there's so many lings now for the Tiny. He's not messing around with this ling production. Baneling Nest on the way as well, but he has got this locked down on the defensive front. Onepac managing to keep this queen alive. And look at the drone count. The Tiny, 32 drones, 4-minute mark. Really good saturation on his main. Pretty decent saturation on his natural base. Roach Warren going down as well. He's got the Baneling Nest finished up. And that 3rd is done. So that is a commanding economic lead. Bit of a trade of lings here in the middle. The Tiny can afford to trade as long as the trades are even half decent because of his exorbitant drone lead. But Onepac has a lot of Zerglings on the way. And these Banelings are going to be instrumental in the defense for that. Looks like Onepac is not going to stop with the all-out aggression. He's got a game plan. He wants to get some damage done. And the dance of the Baneling continues. If the Tiny can get some huge hits off the way he did last game, this will be over before it even begins. Onepac with a few Banelings of his own on the way. He was no slouch with Baneling hits himself in Game 1 of this series. Oh my gosh, and so many Banelings in production within vision of each player on both sides. Roach is on the way now for the Tiny. And a lair. Couple Banelings here. Getting 1 for free. Oh, and then 2 are picked off. Pretty even trade there. But remember, every minute that this goes on... Oh my gosh, the huge hits! Those Banelings from Onepac just wiping out the entire army for the Tiny. And he's going to go in with the lings and try to clean this up. I don't know if it's enough, but he'll get the roaches. Pick off a queen. Will he get a second queen? Yes, he will. And the roaches are all going to go down, and suddenly this looks pretty good for Onepac. How much damage can he get done before the next round of production comes out for the Tiny? And every queen is going to fall here. And the mineral line is going to start getting picked up at the front. Onepac continuing to rally units in, and they're just not coming quickly enough for the Tiny. Finally getting the lings out he needs to clean this up, but at what cost? Lost a number of drones. His drone count is still much higher. Gotta remember, Onepac has nothing mining at this natural. This is a one base play, essentially. It's only 2 bases as far as the larva is concerned. And look at the number of lings now for the Tiny. You know, he says, you know, I might have lost some early drones, but I've got the economy, I've got the production to back this up. You know, good trade there for him. Onepac is going to need some serious baneling hits if he wants to turn this around. And that's not the one he wanted. And GG. Unbelievable. Amazing game by the Tiny. You know, both games kind of played out the same way. He takes the economic risk, and when you take that little bit of extra economic risk, you force your opponent to come to you and try to make something happen, or to be even greedier. And you know, Onepac went in with a plan to win, to go aggressive in these games, and this time it just didn't work out. So great play from both players. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you for the next series.